Oh, you got the music, Victor? You have it queued up?
No, hold on one second. What song is it? Wazzy.
Right, perfect. And we're live. And we're on the page. It is there.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
And we're on the page. So we're live right now. Okay. All right. So the music isn't there. It's all good. We'll have it queued up next time. We got to get it together, y'all. I said we, and I am including myself in that.
It's my addiction, though.
Hey.
You about the pain and them broken homes. Let me tell you about the flesh wounds and broken bones. Let me tell you about the
Oh, we got 35 viewers already. Okay. So what's up? I'm Tanya Faison with Black Lives Matter Sacramento. This is the Niggas is Tired podcast. I want to say it's episode like 9. Yep, episode 9. We're gonna be talking about a few things today. I'll go ahead and let everybody introduce themselves real quick, starting with Victor.
Hey, my name is Victor, and I'm from Black Lives Sacramento.
What's up, y'all? My name is Bishoy, BLM SAC as well.
All right. And I know we used to have Brandon on here a lot, just so you know, he's still with us. He's just working a lot. Poor Brandon is working his butt off. He got a manager job, so he's like super just worked. So that's why he hasn't been on with us lately. But we are going to talk about some things today. I'm just going to dive in real quick because we are late. I apologize for that. I literally, I never forget things, but I forgot today because I didn't put it in my personal calendar. So I was just really just doing my thing right now, enjoying my evening because it's been hot and I ran around all day today. So I was over here devouring some flats, some chicken wings, and yeah, doing my thing. So I apologize, we're late. So the first thing that we're going to talk about that hasn't gotten it got attention, but not as much as it should have, is all the Black youth that were killed by police over the last couple of weeks. And just the response to it, we know that we lost a 16-year-old girl who was trying to protect herself from some folks that came to harass her at her home. We lost a 17-year-old boy that was in the bathroom at his high school with a school resource officer. We lost a 20-year-old young man that was in his vehicle, and the officer mistook her gun for her taser, which is BS. And what's the fourth one, Bishoy?
Trying to think.
It's a lot. I had to do them in my head several times because a picture. Oh, the little boy in Chicago.
Yes.
The 17-year-old in Chicago.
Yeah.
So we've been the police have been killing our youth. And this is right after and during the Chauvin trial. But also after, they declared that he was guilty of all 3 counts. And so it's almost like a slap in the face to the people that are fighting against this. It's now we're going to kill your kids and you can't do nothing about it. That's how I feel. Like we have no respect for your women, your children, none of that. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'll go ahead and go with you first, Victor.
It's the most vulnerable aspect of what we have. You know what I mean? And I think that throughout that whole aspect of the trial and what was said, that there was going to be a response that was going to come back from the police. And I know people don't like thinking that it's organized that way, but it is. These are our children who, when we found one person guilty of excessive force and of murder, We watched 6 other kids who needed help, like needed assistance, uh, you know, get murdered. And then the sense of the child who was inside of his own bathroom, right? Like we watched the narrative change so many times for that young boy that, he had a gun or he shot an officer and it turned out the officer had shot themselves, and ended this young man's life. Like it's despicable to think that's the response that comes from police, and that it's escalated to reach in the youth.
What about you, Bishoy?
Yeah, I think this is, I think specifically because I'm thinking of my students, right? These are, I teach young Black boys and young Black people, and I immediately think of them, and especially the last couple of weeks, and I think this attack is so tactical, especially after the case. I think there's a tactical and purposeful decision in these murders to target our youth. And we said this a couple weeks back. It's, we quote unquote got one of theirs, and so now they're getting our babies. And that's really what they're, looking out to do, because they know that hits the hardest. They know, the death of any person hits hard and hits any community hard. But when you're talking about innocent young people, 16, 17 years old, people are going to feel some type of way. And I think that those often become the most, I don't want to say defeating murders, but they hit differently in a way where you're like, it's speechless, right? It's like you just don't know what to say, because you're looking at it, and now 3 weeks straight, less than a month, right? We've had at least once a week, if not two, where we've had a young Black person get killed. And so, for me, it just, I see it as a revenge tactic. It's a revenge move by the state. And also, this isn't nothing new, right? They've always been killing young people. They've always looked at the youth and seen them as targets, because they see the revolutionary spirit within our youth. And so how you dim that revolutionary spirit is they think is that you take out the youth. And so, that just becomes a tactic we saw with the Black Panther Party. They weren't old heads, right? Like they were kids. They were kids. And not to say OGs aren't taking the fall as well. Absolutely. Like, but there's always been this tactical decision to take out the youth, so that you really take out any type of strategic collaboration and strategic communication amongst youth who are trying to make moves. And so you scare youth, you instill fear in youth, especially because our youth are still within these systems, right? Our youth are still within the educational system. Our youth are still within the, foster care system, right? They're still in these institutions. And so when you target them there, right, you really just, you get them within those systems, and it's deadly. It's deadly at that point, because they're already being attacked by the system that they're within, right? School's killing them, spiritually, mentally, and now you see that, for the example, the incident within the school bathroom, they're killing them within school grounds, legally and without any reprimand. And so, I just see it as a strategic move that only follows the historical precedence of what America does and what it does well, unfortunately.
Yeah. I kind of want to talk about like each incident a little bit, just a little bit deeper. And like what you said, as you were talking, I was thinking how when our youth are killed, like when a child is killed that's in a family, like it breaks that family apart. Like all of these deaths break families, but when it's a child, it makes the whole family gets weak. And so they can't fight the way they want to. And so like it's a really, if that is what is they're using as a tactic intentionally in each scenario that we have over the last month, like it's a tactic that's crippling. It cripples the community. And I think that's part of the reason we are not seeing George Floyd protests for these four youth, because we're crippled by it. We're also, it's back to back things happening, and each time it's like we don't get a chance to heal from the pain of the previous incident before our next one comes, and then the next one is our youth. And like first it's a 20-year-old, and then it gets younger and younger and younger, and then it gets to where this girl called the police to get help, and the police officer came, and instead of de-escalating it, he took her little life, and she was already in the system and a survivor of probably a lot of trauma. I mean, somebody come into your house to fight you, that's trauma all by itself. But Anthony Thompson Jr. was the 17-year-old that was killed in the bathroom at his high school by a school police officer. And that officer lied at first and said that that he shot at him first, that this 17-year-old had a gun at school, and it turns out that he lied. It's on the camera. Adam Toledo is the 13-year-old who was running from the police, and they killed him. It looked like it was in an alley or something, trying to say that he had a gun. And then Micaiah Bryant was the 16-year-old girl that was killed because some older girls came to her house to confront her about something. She called the police for help because she felt threatened, and then she went out with a knife. And the officer didn't try to de-escalate. He didn't say, hey, I'm here to help you. You can put the knife down now. I'm not gonna let these girls hurt you. Instead, he just resorted to killing her. And then Dante Wright is the 20-year-old where the officer in Minneapolis, she says that she thought she was pulling out her taser, which is the stupidest. Like, we already went through that. There's no way that you can mistake a gun for a taser. And yeah, anyways, Dante Wright was killed. And she was fired pretty quickly. And that mayor of that city, I think it's like Brooklyn Center is the name of the city. He kind of got, I don't know what's happened since then, but I know that the city manager got fired after this happened. The police chief stepped down, and she stepped down, and she's been charged. But I don't have any update on what's happened after that. Is there any updates that you guys know about that I haven't? Okay. But yeah, that's who we're talking about. I know my first thing is like, why aren't the streets just going crazy right now? But then you realize, like, well, how come you ain't in the streets, Tanya? Well, I'm tired. I'm tired and I'm sad. You know what I mean? So just imagine what the whole community feels like. But they do deserve our fight, no matter what. They do deserve our fight. Their families deserve our support. So I just wanted to mention them because it seems like people are already not talking about it anymore. Anybody want to add anything to this part of our?
I just think you know 100% on it. Like they do deserve it. Like it's so like I think it just myself, and I can only speak for myself in this space, but like it feels immediately. I'm just I reflecting even yesterday. I'm just like, damn, like I'm not doing enough. I feel my body's getting these like aches to like be out there to do things and to be in community, and at the same time my body's aching because it's exhausted and because it's tired and because folks have so many things going on. And on top of experiencing these traumas over and over again, on top of having to discuss these traumas, like I have to bring these things to the classroom every day. It gets brought up, and to have to hold that space for young Black people, it's hard. It's so hard. And so it's like it is such a delicate balance of like you're like, these families deserve better, these folks deserve better, and we got to give that. And and that's where I really see accomplice work, right? That's where accomplices in this work really gotta be like, what, we had, this is what we're here to do, right? Like if Black folks are taking this space to grief and to rage and to just experience all of our emotions, hopefully within the realm of safety, that's where accomplice work has to get brought up and start and make moves. Obviously under the guise of Black leadership, but still make moves. And so, yeah, no, I mean, all that to say, I agree 100%. It's hard. It's so hard, but it's also like you want to keep things going because it ain't no different from last summer to this summer. It's no different. There are more numbers this summer that we got to uplift and that we got to remember and that we got to, remind folks of. And so it's consistent.
Yeah.
I think that yeah, all of that. It's a reminder that it's like that the end of the Chauvin's trial wasn't a victory for us, and they make it very clear that it's not a victory, and that those pushes, like the pushes that need to happen and continue need to happen about defunding police officers. Like they've shown in every aspect that they're not of use to the community when it comes to Black folks, especially, and how to handle our youth. Um, I always think that police officers should not be on school grounds at all. Like they don't need to be there with a gun at all, ever. Like that never should be something that is a standard, especially when even especially when they've already said that they're not there to protect students or anybody. Like that's not their job. So there's no reason for them to be on campuses. So like that, like those things shouldn't even happen. And in the case where a young girl is calling out to get assistance, like police shouldn't have been the first people to respond to that. Um, and it is something that I feel like our youth have always been. I feel like the thing that has changed is that, and it's the same thing that happens with all of police brutality and its murders. Like our youth have been saying that they've been experiencing this from the police for a long time. It's just now that we're capturing it on film. Like it is now being seen that the community can validate, like, yeah, this is really what's happening to these kids when they're interacting with police. And, you know, our children shouldn't be 6 times as more likely to be killed by a police officer than anyone else. And that's the case.
Personally, I know the Chauvin trial, it kind of like, it fucked me up. I'll just put it like that. Not in a way to where I couldn't control myself and I was like, outbursts or anything, because we've learned how to manage this, like our whole lives, walking through being Black, we've learned how to manage our pain and all that. But that trial and even the outcome of it, even though, he got what we wanted him to get, we wanted him to get charged. We know that it's not the fix, right? We know that it's not the end all. But that emotionally drained me. And it makes me wonder, because now, you've got Dante, right? You've got the others that have been killed. And so now we're completely emotionally wiped out, so that we're like, we're sad, we want to fight, but we're sad. And so the space that we hold is more pain than it is in power at this particular time. And we want officers to continue to be charged if they, you know what I mean? We want that to happen, but like, how much can we witness? And so I think it's important what you said, Bashoy, about allies, because I didn't even think about that. Folks that are, non-Black people, this is when they should be stepping in, because we're tired, we're exhausted, it's trauma, it's emotional, it's hard, it's heavy, it's so heavy. So yeah, I think what you said, both of you guys said, is just spot on. Anything else that anybody want to add to this part before I move on to the next? So I want to try to briefly, I want to lift the names of 2 people. In 2017, in May, on May 5th and on May 8th, 2 folks in separate incidents were killed by the Sacramento Sheriff Department. On May 5th was Ryan Ellis. He was killed by Sac Sheriff Department in North Sacramento. And then on May 8th was Michael McIntyre. So I want to briefly lift their names and talk about the situation, just because I know some of the people that are watching now may not have been following what was going on in 2017. A lot of people jumped on board with George Floyd. A lot of people jumped on board with Stephon Clark. So I just want to make sure people know who Ryan Ellis is and they know who Michael McIntyre is. So I'm going in chronological order. So I'll start on May 5th with Ryan Ellis. Ryan Ellis him and his girlfriend were homeless. They would get like hotel rooms and stuff They weren't literally sleeping on the streets, but they did not have a home. And so they would go to his aunt's house to do laundry and shower, and just kind of like regroup. And while he was at his aunt's house, he was standing outside with his girlfriend, and his ex-girlfriend drove by and saw him outside, called the police on him, and told the police that he was armed and dangerous, and he was not armed. And she said that he's violating a restraining order. So police came very violently and took him in the car, cuffed him in the back of a sheriff vehicle to transport him to the jail. And somewhere between when they picked him up, and I want to say this was like at 7 p.m. and I want to say midnight is when he was brought to the jail, which is, you know, there's a lot of things off with that time. But they're saying that he managed, while he was in the back of the car, cuffed, he managed to break the windows and lunge his body out of the car to his death. That's the original story. And I don't know how many people watching have ever been in the back of a police vehicle cuffed. There is no room to move. Those back seats are slimmer than regular back seats. Like the area between you and that wall in front of you is a lot smaller than if you were in a regular vehicle. The back seat of the car is like a hard plastic. It's like you can't maneuver. It's got dips in it for your body to fit in, and if your body doesn't fit in it, it's extremely uncomfortable. When they cuff you, they usually cuff you and have your arms up so high, cuffed up high like this behind your back so that you cannot move. So it's completely impossible it's possible to lay on your back and maybe kick a window out, but it's completely impossible to lunge your body out of a car. That's completely impossible. With no arms, get the strength and manage to get your body out of the car and lunge out. Since that's happened, and more recently, his mother has shared some of the stuff that is going on with, there's a case, she's still fighting this, and so her lawyer gets information from the sheriff department, and then he passes it to her, statements and explaining how the story went, and there's just a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of, there was a woman officer that was transporting him, and at some point in time, he was hanging out of the car, so she decided to speed up instead of slow down to get him to go back in the car. Just a lot of weird, not making sense things. And I don't want to provide all that information now unless I have all the facts in front of me, which I don't. So, but I just know that there's inconsistencies. His mom is still fighting. And so they have not received justice. On May 8th, which was just 3 days later, same year, same sheriff department, Michael McIntyre was having a mental health crisis. He called for help. He called to get a mental health check. They came and they deemed him good to go, because he could answer, I guess, who the president was. But he wanted mental health help. And so the way that story first went out is they were trying to say that it was a domestic violence situation, him and a girl. This is just how shady the sheriff is. Every time the sheriff department in Sacramento puts out a story, it's always like 100% different a week later. So they basically chased him onto the freeway and gunned him down, like execution style, from 25 feet away. So he was running, and he wasn't hurting anybody. He was running from them, and he was far away. And they shot him to death. They tried to say that he picked up a rock and hit the dog. Video came out later that showed how wrong it was. So you could see exactly how unnecessary it was. After his death, a lot of stuff transpired with our board of supervisors, our sheriff department. In 2016, January of 2016, we got an OIG. That's the Office of Inspector General. Their job is to oversee the police or the sheriff department. At that time, Rick Brazil was the OIG, and there was some conflict with him and the sheriff to where, and the OIG works in the building that the sheriff department is in, so he could have access to everything. And so he evaluates cases and says whether or not he recommends that they were not justifiable or they were justifiable. So I guess him and the sheriff had some kind of words or some kind of beef with each other, so they weren't friends anymore. This OIG, Rick Brazil, is former law enforcement. He was also part of the same police officers association that Sheriff Scott Jones was part of. And they were good friends until this moment. I think it had to do with elections or something. Either way, Rick Brazil did for the first time, an honest assessment of what happened to Michael McIntyre. And he came back and said that it was not justified, that they endangered not only Michael McIntyre, but they endangered people on the freeway by shooting while he was 25 feet away. And he recommended that it would not be justifiable. So when that happened, Sheriff Scott Jones got pissed off and locked him out of his office, which he's not supposed to do. So months later, it goes to the Board of Supervisors. Rick Brazil's position is already expired, so he can't go back anyway. But they come up with all this, they have all these meetings to talk about the language of what the OIG does, and that the OIG, they change it from shall look at cases and make assessments to may. That's what the sheriff tried to get them to say, may do it. So in other words, he can decline doing it, but that defeats the purpose of having him there. So that ended up not, it didn't work out the way that Sheriff Scott Jones wanted it to. The OIG position exists still. We have a new OIG. And, I know that Michael McIntyre's family sued, and I want to say that the sheriff department settled with this. And so, but that doesn't help his mama heal. You know what I mean? So that family still needs justice. So I just wanted to lift their names and tell the city, what happened in Sacramento in May of 2017. And don't forget their names, Ryan Ellis and Michael McIntyre. Speaking of the sheriff and the county of Sacramento, let's talk about Anne Marie Schubert. I'm gonna start with Victor. What you want to say about Anne Marie Schubert? What's she doing?
I mean, she's trash, but she's running for the attorney general is what she's gonna do, and I think the greatest thing is that she will no longer be the district attorney. No, she's running for district attorney. No, she is district attorney, and she's running for the attorney general. So what's great about it is that she'll no longer be the district attorney, but this is a person that we can't afford to get into to have in that position at all. Just in what she's done over the last, over the time that she's been there in Sacramento, how she's affected the community, how she's refused to hold police accountable, how she crucified and just how she brought up personal information when it came to Stephon Clark, how she didn't do her job when it came to Stephon Clark, how she accepted police money from the unions before investigating them, like moments before. Like she's a horrible individual for the job that she's done. But more importantly, well, not even more importantly, but also the thing that's really odd about this person is that she's a Republican, right? Like she is a dead on Republican. And part of the politics that she's played inside of Sacramento is that she was queer. But she's a Republican, like through and through. And the fact that a lot of liberal people in Sacramento have voted for her based off of the queer politics, she has been a through and through Republican in every aspect of how she's handled cases in Sacramento. And to have a Republican be the Attorney General of California is laughable. But should never happen. I really hope folks take into consideration what she's done in Sacramento and ensure that she does not get this job and doesn't hold another prominent role from the legal perspective at all. She shouldn't be in any of those roles.
She not only is she Republican, she dropped her Republican affiliation.
Yeah.
So she identifies Republican. She could get votes from Democrats.
Yes, she did.
I wouldn't call her queer because she's not radical. I'll just say she's a gay white woman. And that's her sexual orientation. And she uses it to get votes. And she's officially left the Republican Party to get votes.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that she's in a blue city and in a blue state. And like you said, what she did to Stephon Clark's case, like what she did to his family, to his children's mother, what she implied, like she dragged all, she didn't just go on there and say, we're not going to convict these officers. Right. She put the knife in and she twisted it.
Right.
She twisted the knife. Like she knew what she was doing. Yeah. She was angry. Like that was a response to the movement. Like, you want to come to my office every week for 3 days out of the week and have barbecues and we got to put a fence up and you want to be in our parking lots? Okay, well, I'm about to do this. That's what I felt like she was doing. Because she dragged his name through the mud. She tried to imply that it was suicide by cop. She tried to blame his girlfriend for him wanting to commit suicide, which puts more trauma on his girlfriend. Yeah. Like she just was she's a horrible person. Yeah. Not just for the job. She's a horrible, horrible person. Fuck Anne-Marie Schubert. When we shut down, I'm getting pissed off because when we shut down her little speech that she was going to give to those women lawyers, when we went in there and we held that sign up, she kept saying my name. She kept saying, I've never sat down with her. I've never met her in person. That was the first time I ever had a face-to-face conversation with her, or didn't have a conversation, but just was face-to-face with her. Always seen her in pictures. That's it. Because she was too scary. She would run to her car when protesters were outside of her office. But she kept saying, Tanya, with this authority in her voice. That shit triggered me. I could not, it's something that I was going to say, no offense, but I'm not going to say it, but a lot of white women do this. Like when they want to have authority over somebody and make it seem like they're in the position to tell you what to do, even though they're not, they put this authority in their voice and they say it like, shame on you. That's how her voice was when Tanya, I can give you my number. We can meet and talk about this. I don't want to sit down and talk with you, woman. I'm sorry. I just thought about that. I don't like her. I'm glad.
I've been outside your office for the last 6 weeks. You could have came out and talked to me anytime. You ain't got to pull up. I was been there.
I don't like her. I don't like her response to us.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me go in there to use the bathroom. They would not. Those deputies she got sheriff deputies to guard her doors. They put a fence around the building. So we still sat out there just outside the fence. If I had to go potty, she would not let me go. I would have to go to the courthouse. And those nice deputies in the courthouse would let me come in and go use the restroom. And I'm being facetious, although they were nice to me, but it was sarcastic. But yeah, she is, I'm really glad she's not going to be a DA. And I really don't think that California is going to hire her to be the AG. I don't think they're going to let her do that because she's got too much baggage and dirt. And I'm sorry, Bishoy, go ahead. I'm just ranting. Man, her name it does something.
Yeah, no, I think, I actually think it's a little funny, but I gotta take this, maybe it's this part of me out, but it's, you look at Attorney General, damn near is like the most important cop in the entire state. And shit, she has the perfect resume of what a cop looks like. So it's like she got that shit in the bag. Like, I mean, she just does everything the police do so well, and she just does it and crosses her T's and dots her I's so well. And so, she just we know who Miss Schubert is, and I think that what makes her particularly dangerous is something that we're beginning to see so prevalently is that folks who are very right-leaning, very right-wing, white supremacist folks utilize other aspects of their identity to say, hey, but I'm this, right? We're seeing that with Miss Caitlyn Jenner. I'm a trans woman, but also a Republican who don't think gay people deserve rights. Like, make that make sense a little bit, right? Like, again, I think it's to that piece of, I think people are being very strategic on the right, using these identities, specifically gender identities and sexual orientation, to say, hey, but look, like, wait, I'm part of this, and I'm also like, I'm gay, I'm this, and it's like, you just now spitting on the oppression and just completely making fun of and downplaying the oppression that LGBTQ folks have. That if it's a black conservative, we've seen this. I mean, this story has been, you know, repeated. A black conservative, right? They love to be putting those folks on Fox News, right? It's the same thing, and we're seeing that now in these candidate pools and these races and elections. Is that they're trying to purposely misuse these identities and say, but look at me, right? And now she, you know, when she switched to a no party preference, she, you know, she knew what she was doing. That was a tactic, right? And so, you know, everything y'all said and more, right? We know she also somebody who's not very good with money. We know that history. She was treasurer of what is it, the district attorney association, and she over here getting reprimanded for that, you know, for the misuse of that money by the very position she now applying for. You know, she tried to run for. So I think it you know, it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes to exactly who Miss Schubert is.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Because Bashoy nailed it when you were talking about the white supremacists and how she's jigging. Like, this is the same person that had video footage of counter protesters at a white supremacist rally getting stabbed up, and she didn't charge not one. Like, literally, there's photos, videos of these people stabbing people with weapons draped around the police. Like, all of this is on video. She did not charge one of these racist white supremacists at all. She only charged the counter protesters that were there. And that what she did when you said white supremacists, the racist right-wing white supremacist folks, I just wish we could just call them racist. Like, right-wing folks are racist, period. But when she decided to remove the name to go to no party, like, it's so, like, folks got to be real up on, like, that is what they are doing. Like, you will not see Republican, you will see no party, and you need to know a little bit of the history of what these racist folks are doing. She's a horrible individual. She should not be she's horrible all the way around.
Bad, she's horrible. Like, she's not just a bad politician, she's a horrible person.
Like,
she's a bad, her character. Her personal character is horrible. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She
that be reminding me, and this is a little off topic, but side note around, I always in these meetings, right? Like, we always talk about, like, these, you know, these community rules we gotta follow, right? And I always think of one of them as, you know, you gotta criticize the idea and not the character. And I think in this moment we all say, fuck that. Yeah. We criticize the idea and the character.
She gets both of them.
She's a horrible ass person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, people need to know. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. I did not. Okay, so when I forgot about this, I Instacarted. So I got an Instacart coming in, but I'm gonna change the subject real quick so you guys could talk while I go get it. The people that are running, just to give a message out, we're not supposed to pick a side, but Alana Matthews is one person running for DA. Ian Ho is another person, and Paris Coleman. I know Alana personally through doing community work, but there's information out there about all of them. We're not supposed to choose anyone, but I'm just gonna, you know, say that, yeah, Alana Matthews is running for DA. I'm gonna put it out like that. So let's go move on to the story of them. Did y'all watch them? And go ahead and talk. I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah, okay. I watched it. I did. I enjoyed it. I shouldn't say I enjoyed it. I think that I'm excited that there's a refreshing look at, like, what the past is and how it is, and how and I'm interested in the fact that it's coming up in a horror genre, right? Like, I do like the fact that, like, racism, white supremacy, and what Black folks are facing is coming into that genre of horror. It's the horror that we face on a daily basis, and so I think I'm pretty excited that it's fallen into that vein of, like, horror, because it isn't a horror that we face, and it puts that horror on film for folks to be able to see.
No, I mean, 100%, I agree. And I think you look at just the horror genre, and its treatment and notion of Black people and characterization of Black people has always been misguided, disgustingly just shown, and I think obviously just racist. And so, you know, I think when we're seeing Black people create these kind of things within that genre, I think it speaks differently. And you know, like you said, it is powerful to reflect on the violence by the state on Black people as horror. It is not just a History Channel thing. It is horror. It is. I mean, to name it horror is understanding it through the lens of the Black experience.
Right.
This isn't just something we can sit around and talk about at the dinner table. Like, these are horrifying realities for generations of Black folks, and for it to be labeled under the accurate genre is long due. And so, absolutely, I think them was very revealing. It was hard to watch. Like you said, it was kind of like that weird, like, it was, we want to say it was a hella good show, but then you were like, that don't even sound like the right word to use. I don't want to say I enjoyed it, but it felt real because it was, right? It felt real because in many aspects of it, it was so real and just raw. But, you know, but for me, the biggest thing is that it's Black made. And I think that's something that for me makes it so important to watch if you can. That's not saying folks have to watch it. I'm saying it's important to watch if you choose to make that move. It's so important because it is through the lens of Black minds coming together to create this, and Black minds who did the work to really reflect the Black experience accurately. And so for me, that's huge, right? It's different if I saw the list of all the folks involved, director and everybody, and their mama was white, and I'm like, this don't feel right, right? Versus, right, we're seeing it through the lens of someone who is Black, who understands these experiences as horrific, and then telling them through art, right, through an art form in which they choose. And so for me, yeah, absolutely, it was very powerful.
I think what you just said too, like, I've seen a lot of people call it trauma porn, and I really don't like that, because trauma porn implies that people are getting off on the trauma. But when you have a Black person that's written this and gone to the lengths of finding out things that we don't know about that happened back then, and then showing it to us so that we have a visual, and so that we're moved by it. And I'm saying moved very, like, that's a very light way to put it, but we're moved by it, right? Because it's traumatic to see. But it's our experiences, our ancestors, right? So we need to know what's happening. It doesn't need to be told like a story where we just go, oh, okay, that happened, and we make light of it. So when people call it trauma porn, it really bothers me, because it's like you said, it's a Black person that wrote this. They had to go through these takes. Like, there's actors that reenacted these situations, and that's hard for them, I'm sure. And it's hard for them, the folks that wrote it, to write about this, and it's hard for everybody that took part in it to do what they are doing. And create that visual. So yeah, that's one thing that I noticed that I didn't like. People were dismissing it and calling it trauma porn. And the Black folks that wrote this, it's mostly one Black man. It was a queer Black man, and then it was a queer Black woman that wrote one of the episodes, I think. And I'm not good with names, so I forget all the names. But I think it's really important to make sure that, yeah, we watch we support what they write. If you're personally unable to watch it, then, you know, do what you got to do. Like, whatever it is that you got to do it. But we do need to keep lifting the folks that are trying to do big things and being Black while do it, and creating this new genre of like, we have this new genre of entertainment. It seems like movies and television for Black, because for so many years, everything that had Black people in it was about Black people, or it was about it was all these stereotypes of Black people there, or the video or the quality of the cinematography and everything wasn't, you know, high quality. It's not like, you know, now we got the Black Panther that came out, and that was just like, wow, it was phenomenal, right? And we had Love Country come out, Lovecraft Country come out. We had the Underground come out, where they're mixing like this historical information that they're giving us with modern music and giving us these scenes that are like, you know, just so many new artists are coming out, and they're writing and they're doing all these great things. And I feel like we have to welcome it, because we're taking our art to a next level. I feel like from a perspective of art.
I will show you. I agree. Like, and I think the thing that was so telling about this story, like, was that it was talking about redlining. It was talking about redlining, and it wasn't talking about redlining in somewhere in the Midwest, and it wasn't talking about redlining. It was talking about redlining in Compton, right? Like it talked about Compton and where Compton was as a white neighborhood, and white flight, like how black folks moved into Compton and they had to move. It talked about how we were financial, like the night, like, and I think this is the thing that, like, I was telling you before, was like, I didn't get the like supernatural portions of it, right? Which is fine. Like, I get, like, I've come to understand why they're there, but the real like the nightmare of it or the horror of it is the reality, right? Like, black folks were and are economically exploited by the bank system when it comes to housing, right? And even when we do get a house and we get into a neighborhood, folks look at them like, who, how dare you be in the same neighborhood as me, right? Like those are the like horrors that black folks faced, like, in that time in Compton, but still face today. Like, the economic exploitation of black people when it comes to housing is still relevant today. The idea of redlining and how it's still relevant today, how it still plays a fact on it. Like, when I think about Sacramento and I think about Lamb Park, like, Lamb Park still has black home deeds. Like, there are still racial covenants on those deeds. They haven't been removed. They haven't been whited out, that say you can sell this house to anybody but a black person. Like, that is a realistic horror that we've experienced. That a realistic horror that black folks have experienced and continue to have a legacy experiencing.
Nah, 100%. I think just reflecting back on the trauma porn, folks go to that trauma porn piece, and I think the idea and the notion is that it's white folks who are watching it, and hence it becomes trauma porn for white folks. But then the whole point is that this wasn't written for white folks regardless, right? This wasn't written by white folks. So just because the audience who are white folks are taking it in as trauma porn is not to blame or to put responsibility on the black creators, right? Just because we have to remember, like, I think folks forget that, oh, it's trauma porn and white people are gonna take this and it's like, yeah, but white people are going to use this as trauma porn. It's not black folks putting it out as trauma porn. Our problem is most folks didn't know the history of Compton like that prior to them. Now you do. Thank that black person. Like that. I mean, that's just the reality. Is like, yes, does it feel horrible? Yes, because that is the black experience in America. What it should feel horrible. It's not, and I think to not allow, right, because it is a definite balance. So, whenever we talk about celebrities, right, like, or just famous people, and that the classist difference, right, there is an understanding of that difference and trying to maintain that balance of keeping folks in a different class accountable. But at the same time, right, we need to allow every black person's space to go through the complicated relationship with trauma. And if they do that through art form, right? And if they do that through, whether that's art in the sense of drawing and painting and artwork like that, or if it's through art like television or drama or whatever it is, we should allow that, right? I mean, that's just, for me, we need to allow, especially black folks, to wrestle with the trauma that is the black experience in America. And if we try, and really that's the censorship of black experience. I mean, and I'm all for it. Folks are, and I know, and especially on social media, folks are advocating, right? We need more exposure of black folks and black movies that have positive light and that have, Afrofuturism aspects to it, that have, right, 100%. No one's disagreeing. Yeah. I want to see that too. 100%. Yeah. That sounds amazing. And the reality is, white folks in this country don't want to watch that. Like that's the reality, right? And so part of it's you got to look at just TV, movies, the whole entire kind of system of that art form isn't calling for that to begin with. Do you think, like, do we honestly think Black folks are going to be able to make those movies without much pushback or much support? No, that's just the reality. Like, we have to support our Black actors, support our Black directors, support these Black folks in these positions so that they can create art like that. Like that's just how many of us know, like, how many of us know books around Afrofuturism versus like, and that's just the general crowd, right? We definitely know a lot more books around the darker aspects of the Black experience than we do around Afrofuturism, right? Like, and it just speaks to, unfortunately, what folks want to hear about. But again, that just goes back to what we need to hear about first. And for me, it's folks don't know the gravity and the severity of the Black experience. It struck folks a certain way, as it should. And I think, like, and Vic, to speak to your point around the kind of like spiritual aspect, those parts never seem scary. And I'm not gonna speak for like the director or the writer or any of them, but I don't know. And I'm thinking they in the room, and I think they were purposeful about making those parts the least scary parts.
Because it's laughable to us.
Those parts were more like, it was more curiosity and more let me figure out what this mystery is, instead of like solve the case. Like, that's what that was to me. But they were interesting, but they weren't scary. They were just like, whoa, what's this going on? But I'll tell you one thing, when that little girl started singing that song in the beginning, and she started marching, I was like, you scaring me, little girl. She was a little bit she went in.
But it definitely, like, I think I don't know, like, for me, it felt purposeful to elevate the more fearful aspects of the show with the white folks' interactions with Black people, because that is the scariest part. The scene, I don't want to spoil it, the scene where they in the room talking about, like, really talking about the housing aspect. Mm-hmm. That was terrifying, and it was almost the visual and where the camera, like, it gave me so much anxiety. Like, that scene gave me anxiety. The scene with the dolls, right? Like, those things were way more traumatizing and way more scary, because those are the reality, right? Like, those are the real experiences of Black folks. And I just felt like that was a little purposeful. And also the spiritual parts were in relation to the reality, right? Like, they had that connection to the real experience of Black folks. Not to say spiritual experiences aren't real. I just mean the actual experiences in interactions with white folks. There was always that connection to the two.
To go off what you just said a minute ago, well, with what you just now said, if you go to the Oak Park Neighborhood Association Facebook page, you will see these same types of conversations, just with different language. So, you know, the redlining that happened back in the day, you know, it's not exactly happening as redlining now, but it's still, gentrification is a form of that. It's evolved from that. And so we still experience it through gentrification, and they've settled the language that they use now, but they have the same sentiment. And so I think that's important to connect those dots. But to go back to what you said a couple minutes ago, when you talked about, you know, futuristic, you know, television versus, you know, what Black folks should be making or whatever. My thing is this: you don't see nobody white sitting around talking about what white folks should be making for movies. Like, let us make all the different movies that we're not a monolith. Like, that's one thing. We have to get out of that frame of mind that we're Black people. We should be doing certain things, and we should be doing them a certain way, and we should all agree on how we should do them. We should all come to, like, we're at some big table with each other making decisions together, and it shouldn't be like that. Like, we're artsy, we're creative, and creatives need to be able to do what they do and show their talent, and that's what talent is. And them is horrid, but it's beautiful because it teaches you something. And I think that's what you're saying, the show is like, trauma porn doesn't go that far. Like, trauma porn is what you already know, and you just want to watch it over and over again. What them did is they brought new visuals to the table and taught you something and made it realistic for you, so that you really know that it happened and you believe it, and you're moved by it in a way that has you jolted.
The one
Yeah.
thing that I think we can't collectively come together to say though is that that white woman, that lead white woman, I'm never gonna, I can't unsee her. I don't care what role she play ever again. She is, I'm sorry, she just she played that role a little too well or something because she terrified me. I'm gonna just say that now. That smile.
Yeah, there's the smile and the cigarette. There's
Oh,
there's an interview that the producer did, and the girl brought up that question about her. Like, the girl said, if I didn't already like her in other stuff before now, I probably would not like her in real life. And then he was like, man, he's like, she got into formation real good and better than anybody he's ever seen do it. And he's like, she's still cool though, but man, but it was so, yeah. I can't unsee that.
no, absolutely not.
What are you gonna say, Victor?
Man, y'all brought up so much. There's so much there. I think that Afrofuturism is born from Afro-pessimism. And so I definitely think, because Afro-pessimism just says ain't nothing wrong with us. It's y'all white folks keep fucking with us. I think once you get to the point of that, you'd be like, man, let's just dream about what the future's gonna look like. And so I think it's born from these things. And I think the thing that I came to realize from this show was that even the spiritual stuff, or the stuff that was that it had a legacy. Like it was a legacy of white supremacy that was there, that was revisited by these folks, and that they did have to wrestle with. And Black folks are still wrestling with those same like ghosts, like they are there, And I've always been a fan of horror films, because nothing's like Black folks, as much as they be like, we are not good in white folks horror films. You want to know why? We wouldn't be there. Like, we'd be like, I'm up out of here. None of this makes sense. I'm good. But the other reason is because we face so much horror in life, this paranormal activity to us be like, nah, bruh, like, not doing that. So I think the paranormal stuff, you're right, doesn't even seem scary, because in the reality of what Black folks walk through in a white supremacist world, the horror of that alone, it's so much in the experience, that the paranormal stuff becomes secondary. And I love that in both Lovecraft Country and them, how they're showing that aspect of it. I think it's a new genre that's coming out. I'm glad to see us being able to explain things. And there's a lot of onto the like trauma porn portion of it. There's a lot of healing aspect I feel that has happened for me, because it allows for me to honor my ancestors who did go through that experience, who had that experience, that I'm not physically there, but I can see the trauma that they went through and have an understanding of that trauma. You know what I mean? And what it may trigger for me, I can see, all right, okay, I can see that and start to wrestle with it. But it's a way of honoring, like, there were real folks who pioneered Compton. There were real folks who had to deal with that segregation of that aspect of it. And so it's a way of us giving honor and paying homage to those folks, for those folks who did make that way for us.
Since you mentioned Lovecraft Country, I just want to take a moment to lift a native Sacramento Black woman that is writing these types of stories. I did not know until I watched them, and I started digging up on them, and then I found out about Misha Green. She don't know me, but I know who she is, and she wrote Lovecraft Country. She works for HBO. She wrote Lovecraft Country. She wrote The Underground, which is a really good series as well. And then she wrote part of Sons of Anarchy, which is like one of my all-time favorite shows. So I just wanted to lift her real quick, because she is young and she's Black and she's woman and she lives in Sacramento. She's from Sac, and her brain is creative and it's wonderful, and she does great things, and she needs to be lifted. Like, I don't know why the city has not already honored her. Like, everybody should know who she is. Like, we know Tom Hanks lived in Sacramento at some point. Everybody knows that, right? But we don't know about Misha Green. And Tom Hanks is just like, he just acted, right? Like, not to bring down Tom Hanks. He's a great actor, but Misha Green is like creating things. She's creating things that are wonderful, and she's out of our city. So yeah, big ups to Misha. So before we, anybody want to add anything or ask anybody anything? We have an active audience right now today, And I appreciate the folks that are sending us stars. I think that's what they're called, because I think they turn into donations or money in some way. I've got to look into it more. We are about to. Oh, I do want to talk about this. Well, what I was gonna say a minute ago is we are gonna start saving or fundraising to build this house that we're gonna build that we bought the land for, and so everything helps. We will be kicking that off probably in the next week or two. We've got to get some stuff together, but we're gonna start the fundraiser kickoff probably just realistically in about 2 weeks. I don't know if you guys saw in recent news, well, even on our page, we shared an email that we received from somebody, and I'm saying this to my folks in here with me right now. We're not gonna be too much on this because we are in a legal pursuit now, but but I just wanted to share some things just for the purpose of documentation, of what's been going on and to inform people, because we have been very quiet. The media did reach out to us, all of the media, but we intentionally did not respond to the media, um, because we wanted her to get her 15 minutes real quick. Um, but yeah, we shared an email that we got from somebody that said some very racist things. They sent us an email. We responded to the first email, and then they sent us another email. We did not respond, and then they sent us another email. And all the emails say very blatantly racist things. We shared it on our Facebook page. Nobody incited anything. They're telling the media that we incited violence to happen to her, that we tried to get people to find out where she lived. Nobody ever said anything on the post about trying to find out where she lived. Nobody, like, we already knew where she lived. We didn't need nobody to go find it. We didn't tell people to do anything. We just shared her words with the community, so that they could see the kind of people that live in our city and in our county, and then also not to service these businesses that these people sometimes they're business owners. They don't deserve anybody's money. So we shared it. She ended up suing us immediately. That was her response to us, is to sue us. She wants the lawsuit that she filed. I have not been properly served yet, just to put that out there. Um, but the lawsuit that was filed, um, to my knowledge, it wants $75,000. It wants a public apology, and it wants us to take the post down. The one thing that I wanted to note is that shortly after the lawsuit was filed, from what I've been told, her husband visited the families of people that are on our board, and he was armed, demanding that the post come down. He also is offering people money, $500, to find my location. Um, so I just wanted to put that out there for documentation that shit is very real. This stuff that happens, people that are not racist that get accused of being called racist, they don't respond with more racism and more anti-blackness and more violence. I just want to put that out there. That's not the response of people that support what we do. It's more so, to me, more evidence that that's the frame of mind that these folks have. I don't know if you want to say anything, Victor, because
It speaks for itself, man. Like, I've never ever in my experience seen somebody serve somebody with like file a lawsuit against a party and then show up with guns at people's houses right afterwards. Like, it's real, it's real life, and comes along with the territory. Doing
what's
this.
amazing to me is if I had gone to her house with a gun on my waist, being angry and making threats, like telling her to, what I want her to do, how would that turn out? Like, the media would paint me as angry and thugged out and criminal, and I'd either be shot or I'd be in jail.
But it speaks to the way of the level of violence from white folks and how it starts and how they're able to get away with it. Like, it's all in all from the level of what they're allowed to escalate with. Had we been in this situation, like, had no way in the world of the roles reversed had we showed up anywhere with any arm to make any demands to anyone. Like, would that have been an acceptable, thing? But white folks do this, and it goes from it starts from the narrative of what they talk about. Like it shows when they feel that they can talk any type of way to black folks, say anything that they want to say, and then show up armed to make any type of demands that they want. Like that's an experience that they feel that they're entitled to. They're not, but
Okay. Do you want to say anything, Bishoy?
I don't know much else to say outside of what y'all said, especially, I think given that what we can say, I think is also limited, but, I think you're 100% right? Like, if no matter who sent this, someone showed up at some of our folks' door. That's just a reality. And someone came to present violence and fear. And regardless of who sent that, those emails, folks who are denying it are the same folks showing up. And so, just like you said, it reveals something about you. And when your back is to the corner and you're in a corner, folks is real notions of especially anti-blackness just come to light so easily. I mean, it's just it's like cutting butter. It's so delicate and so quick and so swift. And so, for me, it just, I hope that the person who sent the letter gets revealed. But someone else revealed themselves already. So, to me, maybe we got one culprit, maybe we got two. I don't know, but we seeing one person already come to light. So that's my piece on that.
Phrase they say two wings from the same bird. If it is two wings,
It might be the same wing.
Itself, yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, we're gonna close out.
Can I,
Yeah.
Tanya, just real quick, just because today is Eid, so just Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to all Muslim folks out there celebrating peace and love, and definitely solidarity with our Palestinian folks. Black power and Palestinian solidarity has always been part of this work, and so definitely one love to Palestinian folks out there doing the work and always supporting with that. So I just want to throw that out there because I know that tonight's hopefully a celebration for our folks out there. And so hopefully just one night of celebration is possible for the folks out there.
We pray for their safety too. We pray for
100%.
However you pray, whoever you pray to, we pray for their safety because shit is very real over there. It's too bad we can't be in more of a connection with people overseas. It's hard. All right. Anybody else want to add anything before I close it out? We have a good night. I like your lights, Victor.
Thank you.
You need a stripper pole in there now.
That'll be an upgrade I'll work on.
Okay. Let us know. All right. Everybody have a good night. Everybody watching, thank you for watching. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Later.